An apple a day keeps the doctor away, but a glass of OJ keeps the adversary at bay. Here's Odd Job.
Hey, I'm Odd Job. It's time for a glass of OJ. So, we have updates. We have updates for you on the situation, really the security research crisis at the state of Missouri. As you will remember, Governor Mike Parsons decided to react to a newspaper journalist in Missouri reporting that an education website was leaking in people's web browsers, social security numbers of teachers from a credential checking application that existed. So the journalist had gone and reviewed this site, clicked on a teacher's name or searched for a teacher in some way, and in the browser's code that it receives from the website, the web page, the code, it was encoded a bit, so it wasn't human readable, but easily translated, and that's important. It was translated, not encrypted. It was translated. It'd still be bad if they sent encrypted social security numbers to your browser. That would still be bad. That would still warrant criticism. It would still warrant someone doing vulnerability research and making a report saying, hey, you're leaking confidential information, PII. This is not good. And of course, what should have been maybe a case study and, hey, this is exactly how you should respond to journalism doing their job and security research people doing their jobs, we now turned into a case study in how not to respond. But what's even more interesting now is we have more information. So the Post-Dispatch in I believe it's St. Louis, went ahead and said we're going to do an information request. And they wanted emails regarding conversations between IT, InfoSec, the governor's office, lawyers, and they wanted all of those communications to see, hey, what was actually going on behind the scenes in the governor's office and in these IT offices. And IT offices usually aren't in the same office as the governor's office, usually. They're often some other building. And so what was going on between these departments and between these things? Well, now we have the email. And as Ars Technica brings it, they kind of summarize some of the information that the St. Louis Post-Dispatch does put on their website as well. And I'm going to have our links to Ars Technica and the Post-Dispatch in the doobly-doo. So go ahead and take a look at that. Essentially what happened is IT and everybody else was teeing up the governor's office for a thank you very much, security researchers. We got a really good issue and we fixed it. And thank you so much for your service to this state and to your fellow citizens and to our teachers. That's not a quote, by the way, but it is essentially the spirit of what was supposed to happen. The actual quote that was given that was supposed to be sent out in a press release, mind you, not a press conference, a press release. Very mundane. We're just going to send this out as a thing we would like newspapers to publish or include in a story about this. It was supposed to say, we are grateful to the member of the media who brought this to the state's attention. That was the proposed quote from Education Commissioner Margie Van Deven. And I hope I'm pronouncing that name, Van Deven, correctly. But they didn't end up using that quote. The next day, this is October 13th, mind you, the Office of Administration issued a news release calling the Post-Dispatch journalist a hacker. And on October 14th, that's when that conference happened. That's when that news conference happened. We will not let this crime against Missouri teachers go unpunished. The only crime here was your neglect, the neglect of your offices to not even have this issue to begin with. This was an issue that should honestly be shameful in a way. prideful that you fixed it, but a shame that you actually had this issue to begin with. This is an issue that nobody should be having these days. So basically everybody was teed up to release press releases until the governor's office got involved. So very, very interesting information. Another thing that happened was Angie Robinson, who's a cybersecurity specialist for the state, emailed the Department of Public Safety Director Sandra Carson to inform her that she had forwarded emails from the Post-Dispatch to Kyle Storm. So the Post-Dispatch had done their coordinated disclosure with Angie Robinson in the cybersecurity department. And so she took all those emails and sent those off to the FBI on October 13th. So this is October 13th when, basically, I believe that if I'm tracking this right, that's the day before the press conference. So October 13th is when the Office of Administration issued that news release calling them a hacker. So the cybersecurity department sent off emails to the FBI in St. Louis. Kyle Storm with the FBI, Kyle informed me that after reading the emails from the reporter that this incident is not an actual network intrusion, she said. The FBI agent said the state's database was misconfigured, which allowed open source tools to be used to query data that should not be public. Now, allowing open source tools to query data that should not be public, they literally just used the website. There were no extra tooling involved. But yes, it was basically, this was a database misconfigure, and by using the application, data was leaked. So Kyle said the FBI would speak to Gwen Carroll, the assistant U.S. attorney, with the updated information that from the emails to see if it fits the crime and if she was interested in prosecuting. So no word yet on that. So this is all very interesting. So, of course, Governor Parsons said during his October 14th press conference that we're going to be prosecuting, we're going to be investigating, and we're going to be doing this. So it seems like that was kind of a prelude to maybe some FBI investigations for some hacking. Turns out that the state was prepared to do the right thing. You couldn't snatch defeat and shame for the jaws of victory and pride any more than Governor Parsons has. And of course, the governor's office getting involved in a cybersecurity incident in this way or is very bizarre. Even in a company would be very bizarre, I think, for a CEO or a board member to walk down to the cybersecurity team and to interrupt them on some issue that a web application has. And then somehow say, oh, this person hacked us. That would be very weird for, first of all, the CEO to have that level of awareness that quickly, that what's going on in your security research or application security backlog. That would be very awkward. That would be very weird, honestly, bizarre. Number two, to even just get involved in that, instead of listening to the CISO and saying like, okay, what happened? Oh, someone found a problem with our website. Yes, please fix that. Thank you. No, we're not going to report this. No, we're not going to say anything. We are going to say nothing. And even if it's published, we'll just simply say, hey, thanks for helping us out. Done. This is part of vulnerability disclosure programs, right? This is something that everybody should be looking to get here, is get a vulnerability disclosure program put together, either with a service helping you out or, with you putting a policy forward, something. So that's just a quick update. Wanted to let you know what was happening. Again, it just goes and shows that, as more and more gets unleashed about this, we're learning more and more that the government was about to do the right thing. because that was one of the questions, was like, what's going on in the cybersecurity and IT departments? What are they thinking? And it seems pretty much like they were advising the governor's office that this wasn't a hack. I almost feel bad for some of them, because wouldn't you be embarrassed to be the education commissioner right now, because you were about to say, we are grateful to the member of the media who brought this to the state's attention, and then get superseded by the governor, who goes and has a press conference and says it was a hacker, and we're gonna punish this hacker for this crime against Missouri teachers. You couldn't write a sitcom more, well, you could write a sitcom more funny, but you couldn't write a sitcom more funny and more characteristic of governors trying to ham it up and trying to just take some kind of credit, or take something completely unrelated, make it into something huge, and then take credit for something. And it's a crime, and we're going to get it, and we're tough on crime, and we're coming after these hackers. Again, all of this has a chilling effect, because if all of your infrastructure under you as a company or as an organization is saying, no, this was good, we want to keep this happening, and your top level infrastructure, your executives and people at that level are saying, oh, no, we're gonna go shifting the other way and making this into a big deal. That really shows you the big divide between how a private company acts in these situations and how public companies, or not public companies, because public companies are still private companies, but how public organizations like government organizations, municipal organizations, how they react to things, because a lot of things are politically driven. And what was very interesting is there is a political action committee, and I'm not going to link it because I don't want to give it any more credibility than it should have had. I think, if I remember correctly, it only had a few videos that it put up. It was a political action committee for Missouri or something. They supported the Missouri governor, of course. They had one of those like dangerous, spooky, like, oh, the hacker got into our, we're going to go after them. These hackers need to be brought to justice. And, the paper, and it was really going after the paper. The paper has political motives. And so you get all these things that come into play around the paper, because I'm sure the governor's fighting the paper. So it really comes down to this is a political. He doesn't like this paper's opinions. He doesn't like this paper's editorialism. Doesn't like his coverage in that paper, and so is using this as an opportunity to bring heat on the paper, because maybe if they're spending money trying to defend against a lawsuit or pay attention to investigations, maybe they'll, do something. It's an intimidation. So not only is it chilling against security research, it's also trying to chill First Amendment. It's trying to chill the right to the free press to do this. Because I'll tell you what, even if this wasn't the press, the journalist who had found this issue and reported this, if this was a separate security researcher, the paper would still want to print this. Like, this is still newsworthy. This is still something, especially if it didn't get fixed. But who knows what would happen if this was someone who's trying to get better at BugCrowd or HackerOne, or they're trying to do bug bounties in Missouri. I said, I'm going to look at a state website, and oh, this looks bad, and oh, I need to report this. Who knows how they would have responded, given the temperament of the governor? Would the governor have come down on them? Especially if they went to the paper and said, hey, paper, I found this issue, and I'm not hearing response or whatever. I think you ought to hear about this. Because sometimes security researchers want their findings published. And so maybe they would reach out to the newspaper and say, hey, I found this issue. They cleaned it up. This is great stuff. What would happen then? What should have happened all along? What the state departments were ready to do. Say, we are grateful to the security researcher. We are grateful to the journalists who found this issue and reported it to us and coordinated with us on the release of the news about it to make sure that they didn't promote that this had happened until they were sure people couldn't exploit it, which is a good way to go about doing things. Many ways to go about doing it, but that's a good way. So, what's your reaction to this? What are your comments? Do you have any outrages over this? Do you have any fun stories of your own? Maybe we're public entities like a government, municipal, city, state. Have you done some research that has gotten you into trouble, or that you thought was going to get you in trouble? Are you sitting on research that you don't want to report because you're afraid of something like this happening? Hit me up in the comments. Hit me up on LinkedIn and Twitter. But I'm not done with this glass of OJ. But this glass of OJ is over, and hope you have a great day. Hope you have a great holiday season. I've got a whole list of videos up here. Off to my right, this was on it. So I'm hoping to start churning these out a little more regularly. Now that I've got a little bit of a list ahead of me. Would love to do weekly, but bi-weekly might be the way it goes, especially over the holidays here. But you'll be hearing more often from me, hopefully, here. So we'll see how that goes. And let me know if there's anything you'd like me to cover, either from the news or if there are concepts you'd like me to go over and cover. I have on here DChem, SPF, and DMARC. It seems like a lot of people at various levels, don't understand what those three things are. And how that can help your email security issues, for instance. So maybe you need it at an executive level. Maybe you need it at a little bit more of a technical level. We're probably not going to get hands-on keyboard, but I am probably going to, dive into that. So what topics would you like to discuss? What would you like to see a glass of OJ on? Go ahead and leave it in the comments. Go ahead and, see us on Twitter and, follow us, give us a follow. Go ahead and reply saying, here's a few things I'd like you to cover on it. If you'd like to be a guest on the show, I'd love to do an interview. I'd love to do a discussion on a news piece maybe with you, and those things as well. So just reach out and let me know. Let's get some more voices and faces involved in the glass of OJ, and maybe a glass of OJ will keep those adversaries at bay. See you in the next one.